One thing that I can suggest to people, especially people who don't have the skills to design their own things digitally or don't have the desire to learn something like Fusion, there are so many files available on marketplaces like Etsy that people are selling that you can buy and then make the physical products and sell them yourself. Welcome to the first ever episode of what I'm tentatively calling the prototype. This is going to exist on the channel as a podcast of sorts, and I want this to be discussions, conversations, and knowledge sharing, providing you guys some real value. Today, I want to dive into the idea of taking the hobby of digital fabrication and turning it into an income source. There's so many different ways to do this, and I've been doing this in some capacity for the past 5 years. While it hasn't always been easy or straightforward, it's certainly been rewarding and a lot of fun. Today, I want to look a little further into what I've done over the past 5 years and how you might benefit from the things that I've accomplished in that time. I started my journey as a maker a long time ago when I was a child, just always tearing things apart and putting them back together. I was just always curious about that kind of stuff. And then it didn't hurt that my father had a wood shop in our house, so I was always exposed to it. But let's fast forward to around 2019 when I bought my first 3D printer. And this is really what shaped my current iteration of being a maker, I guess I could say, is when I bought my first 3D printer. I came back from a trip and I wanted something to experiment with and play with. So I bought an Ender 3 on Amazon. I think I paid like $150 for the thing and quickly fell in love with just printing cool things, printing things for around the shop and around the house to help improve things. And that really morphed into my desire to be able to do more than just print things I find on the internet. I wanted to be able to print things that I designed myself, because there was a lot of things I wanted to do that were super specialized, and I couldn't find an off-the-shelf solution on Maker World or Thingiverse or something like that. Actually, I don't even think Maker World existed at this point. It was Thingiverse and Printables. But that being said, I decided to start learning Fusion. Early on, it was just doing simple, easy stuff. I remember I made a keychain that was stylized after some of the retro 90s RPG video games, and I made a keychain that looked like the battle menu. And I remember sharing that on the on a relevant subreddit, and people loved it. And that was really what started my journey of selling things I make. I put that on an Etsy shop, and it did very well. And that was kind of the birth of Pine and Print, which is what I call my Etsy shop. And from there, I just kind of hacked together this shop over the course of 5 years to where we are today, and adding things to my shop as I went. I never allowed myself to go in debt for this endeavor, although I did buy some stuff on credit, but I was able to pay it off quickly. From the 3D printer, it went to a laser cutter and then eventually a CNC. One thing that I can suggest to people, especially people who don't have the skills to design their own things digitally or don't have the desire to learn something like Fusion or even learn a program like Illustrator, there are so many files available on marketplaces like Etsy that people are selling that you can buy and then make the physical products and sell them yourself. You need to check when you're buying these products that they're allowing you to sell physical things you make with these products. But this is a great way to fill out an Etsy shop or build products for craft shows without having any design experience. This is a great way for you to get started selling things online or selling things from your digital fabrication tools like 3D printing or laser cutting or CNC without spending a lot of time learning how to design those things. And if I didn't have that initial desire to learn how to use the design software in the first place, this is probably the route I would have taken. I would have gotten some designs from Etsy that I really liked that were available for me to sell the physical products, and I would have just built out a shop around all those things and found a common thread between those items to kind of have them fall into some sort of niche. And I think that's a great way for people who have a 3D printer or a CNC or a laser to get started selling things using the tools that they have without having much design experience. And the nice thing about this, when you buy these files from marketplaces, you kind of get to see how people package these files together, how they've designed them, and you can kind of, even if it's not consciously, you subconsciously kind of learn how these things are designed, and you might get inspired to make adaptations of your own with changes that you might benefit. So yeah, I think don't let your lack of design experience stop you from selling things with your digital fabrication tools. And beyond Etsy, there are so many other options. Patreon is a great example. Not only do you get to support creators who are making digital files that you can use to create physical products from, but you're also getting access to so many different types of files that you can use with your digital fabrication tools. This is something that didn't exist, at least not in the capacity that it does today when I started selling products with my 3D printer and my laser and my CNC. Now there are so many creators sharing the work that they do digitally that you can take advantage of from a physical product standpoint. Beyond Patreon, there's also places like Thangs for 3D printed files, and there's another one that's escaping my brain right now. Colts 3D, I think. I think that one does product subscription for people who are creating digital files. So if you don't have like I said, if you don't have the skills or the desire to design your own products, there are so many options where you can just focus on the making and not the designing. If 3D printing in and of itself is your jam, and maybe you don't even want to turn this into income replacement. Maybe you just want to pay for your hobby of 3D printing, but you don't want to learn how to design 3D models because, to be honest with you, there's a lot of time involved in that process. You can simply find some Patreon subscriptions to creators that you really respect and support them while helping pay for your hobby. Same thing with laser and CNC. But also, though, if you want to pursue this as an income replacement, then you could totally do that as well without ever doing a single bit of designing through these avenues. And then that being said, if you want to design your own products, then by all means dive into learning Fusion or learning Illustrator, and it's all going to depend on your tool or tools of choice. Fusion being great for 3D printing. Actually, Fusion's great for all three of them. The design steps are a little bit different for each, but you can use that tool for all three of those digital fabrication disciplines. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is whether you want to design or you don't want to design, you can make money with your digital fabrication tools. And then on the opposite side of that coin, you could be the creator who is selling your digital files. Maybe you don't want to deal with selling on marketplaces like Etsy or going to craft fairs or going to marketplaces or whatnot. Maybe you just really like designing things for digital fabrication tools like 3D printing, laser, and so on. Maybe that's your jam. Well, then you can use these marketplaces on the opposite side of that spectrum, like selling digital files on Etsy or creating a Patreon and building an audience around that where you're offering these files to people so that they can create products to sell. And like I said, there's Patreon, there's Colts 3D, there's Thangs, there's Etsy if you want to sell one-offs. There's a lot of options where you simply can create the files and don't have to ship a single physical product. There's also people, myself included, who have digital file shops on Etsy that are only digital files. They're available for people to purchase one-off, because not everybody's going to want to subscribe to a subscription service. Maybe they just want that one file. So having the avenue for people to do that as well opens up your income generation potential when you're dealing with just selling digital products. So that covers using your digital fabrication tools to either sell products or sell physical products or sell digital products. Another thing you can consider using your expertise or using your future expertise in these digital fabrication tools. Another option is to offer services where you can provide your tools as a way for people to create their products. So what I mean by that is, say you have a 3D printer or several 3D printers, you can set up something where people can reach out to you with their 3D models and have them print them for you. And there are shops online that do this. And where I think this might be even more beneficial and more lucrative is small companies or small one-off creators who don't have these tools, who want to prototype something, but they don't want to invest in and learn the hardware and software to create physical prototypes of their digital designs. So you could stand up a service where basically you're just printing prototypes all day long, and since you know how 3D printing works from a fundamental way, you can consult and advise on how people would design or set up their 3D models so that they get the best results when they're 3D printed. So this is another thing, and you could build an entire business around this. I've done this on smaller, less frequent scales, but I've had several clients in the past who had either fully fleshed out ideas or general ideas, and this is where having a combination of design skill and 3D printing experience benefited me. I had somebody who wanted custom speaker surrounds for their side-by-side ATV because they wanted to put better speakers in it, but they were slightly different size. So I got the specs on the speaker that they were using, the specs on the door panels for their machine, and I was able to build them an adapter that adapted the speakers they wanted to use to the doors that they had. So this was an example of building a prototype, but also turning it into a finished product that they could use. Another example of this, I'm currently working with a client who has a product that they want to take to market. They have a theoretical idea and a rough design idea, and I'm going to design the 3D models and build them a 3D prototype so that they can take it to a traditional manufacturer to hopefully have all the parts injection molded and build a finished product that they can then work with a distributor to take that to market. So that these are all ways you can use either your digital fabrication tools to provide the means for people to create prototypes, or use your experience designing, if you do that, to help people take an idea in their head and make it become a real thing so that they can see if it's viable and take it to market. So that's another way that I've monetized the digital fabrication tools that I've brought to my shop. So initially it all started because I wanted to just sell stuff on Etsy, and from there it's grown into these other avenues of generating income. The next thing that is coming to mind for building income from your digital fabrication tools and expertise is education. So let's say you've been using this stuff for multiple years and you have a pretty good handle on this stuff, or you consider yourself an expert in all of it or a specific area of it. This is a good opportunity to teach other people how to do, because while this stuff may seem second nature to people like us. It's not to everyone, but there's people who are really excited to learn this stuff. They just don't know where to begin. So this is a great opportunity to share your knowledge, either locally or online, by building out some sort of presence where you can teach people to use these tools to empower them to make money, or even at the very basic side, just to give them the tools to make their own lives better by creating things that they need around the house. So like creating a platform to educate people around digital fabrication tools is another great way that you could generate income and help people. From there, you could also go into the world of content creating. This isn't for everyone, but this is another great way to take your knowledge that you've gained on your journey of digital fabrication and share it with other people, so that they could either be entertained by what you're creating or educated by what you're sharing. And the way you would make money that way is by working with brands or working with advertisers if you build up a presence on a platform like YouTube. This was just a quick kind of like dive into a couple areas of the world of digital fabrication where you could build a good living if you do it right. And I'm doing a mix of all of it, but that's not to say that you have to do a mix of all of it. You could pick, say you really love educating. You could focus on only doing education around 3D printing. Say you just love 3D printing. You could build an entire education platform on 3D printing. Or say you have no interest in laser or CNC, but you want to sell stuff online. You could buy multiple 3D printers and just kick out 3D models of things that are selling well, and you could build a good business around that. So there are so many ways to do this, and I'm going to dive deeper into this kind of stuff in future episodes. I just wanted to get off the ground and hit the ground running with this show, and kind of just get a basic start of what I want to do with this little corner of Crafted with Machines. I'm excited to see where this goes. Hopefully you got some value from this quick episode. I enjoyed talking about it. Might have been a little bit all over the place. I promise I will get more organized as I grow this out and as I spend more time doing this. So if you like what you heard, please consider subscribing here on YouTube, or I shouldn't even say here on YouTube because you might be viewing this somewhere else. Wherever you get your podcasts or wherever you watch your content, I'd love it if you'd subscribe and share this with people who might enjoy this. Thank you, and I will see you in the next iteration.